Time now for the World Brief and a review of some of today's newspaper headlines. Firstly, let me tell you what's happening around the world. Now, tributes continue pouring in following the deaths of Ghana's defense and environment ministers after a helicopter crash killed all 8 people on board. Now, Defense Minister Edward Omane Boama and Environment Minister Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, Alhaji Mohammed Muniru Limuna, who was the Deputy National Security Coordinator and former Minister of Agriculture, as well as Samuel Sarpong, who was the Vice Chairman of Mahama's National Democratic Congress Party, Samuel Abgwaje, a former parliamentary candidate, Peter Amaka, a squadron leader, Mane Tum Ampadu, the flying officer, and engineer Sergeant Ernest Adomensa were all the people on board, all of them killed in this unfortunate crash. Now, reports in Ghanaian media says at least 4 of the bodies which were recovered were burned beyond recognition. Now, the Z9 helicopter, which does belong to the Ghana Armed Forces, had lost contact during this flight from the Ghanaian capital, Accra, to Obuasi, which is a gold mining town in the south of the country. Investigations are underway to determine the cause of the crash. President Tinubu, former President Goodluck Jonathan are among the many leaders who have issued condolence messages in the aftermath of this incident. May they all rest in peace. Now, to the United States now, US President Donald Trump could meet with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, next week to discuss a potential ceasefire in Ukraine. It's believed Trump is open to meeting both Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, but cautioned that a meeting had not been scheduled yet and no location had been agreed on. Now, speaking on the White House last night, Trump did say that talks in Moscow between his envoy and the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, had been highly productive. Now, Trump has said that Russia could face hefty sanctions or see secondary sanctions imposed against all those who trade with Russia if it doesn't take steps to end the war. Now, the discussions which happened on Wednesday between Putin and Witkoff appeared cordial, despite Trump's mounting irritation with the lack of progress in terms of negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv. And finally, France's biggest wildfire in about 2 decades has ravaged vineyards and farms in southern France, leaving at least 1 person dead and forcing residents to flee. Now, some 2,100 firefighters, assisted by aircraft, are working to control the blaze in the southwestern department of Aude, according to local officials. Now, more than a dozen people have been injured. That's including a firefighter who was in critical condition as of late Wednesday. Now, the fire, which has been fanned by winds gusting up to 70 kilometers per hour, did shut roads and cut power to thousands of homes. The fire ignited on Tuesday and has burned 16,000 hectares, an area bigger than Paris. It quickly spread through farmland plagued by recent heat waves, which turned crops into kindling and dried soils enough to uproot grapevines that are prone to catching fire. So just an awful situation that we're seeing there across southern France. Just another example of the ugly side of climate change. I'd love to hear your thoughts before we move on to the papers.
Very sad one. Our condolences to the Republic of Ghana, and very sad one for the Mahama government. They were actually going to Boasi Gold region. It was supposed to be a sensitization against illegal mining.
Yes.
And, they never got to their destination. It's a very sad one. Ministers, key minister, Minister of Defense, Minister of Environment, and these were key stakeholders in the Mahama election campaign that lost their lives in this. We'll wait and see the investigation. But at some point, the plane was said to have lost, contact, and we saw the disastrous effect. I mean, with air disasters like this, it's best to wait and see the investigation and see the exit reports before we can analyze. But no analysis can bring these lives back. They were patriots to serve their country. They died in active service. It's a sad one. They will be planning their funeral now. And Ghana is indeed in mourning. And as our brothers right here, we see Ghanaians as our brothers, irrespective of anything that has happened in the past. We stand with our brothers, our Ghanaian brothers and sisters, and we say it is well at a time like this. For Putin and Trump, I don't like to get into their, what shall I call it now? Tango, yes, it's pretty much like the word, the dance, because it takes 2 to tango, and both of them are very good at this game of tango. Putin, on the other hand, is very, very sleek, devious, Trump is an easy prey for him. Ex-KGB official, that's what Putin is. Trump is an easy prey for him, easily to be manipulated. But the catch about Trump is very erratic. So it's difficult for Putin to be able to pin him down when he's manipulating him. I thought Trump said that they were going to start sanctions just someday soon. But all of a sudden, Whitcock had a meeting with Putin. They said the meeting was good. They might meet any time. This one today, it's not now they've been saying they're going to meet. I thought just the other day Trump was going to fight India and others that were taking Russia's oil and say he was going to slap tariff on them. Now he says he wants to see him. I thought Trump said he was going to solve this matter in 24 hours.
He said so.
All of a sudden, Trump is now excited that, I'm going to meet Putin, everything is going to be resolved. Let me tell you, I've read about Putin. Marsha Grasson's book is very apt about Putin. Trump needs to know that he's dealing with a KGB official, but on the flip side, does Trump really know anything? Does he really know anything about KGB official? Does he even take the advice of anybody? Doesn't he just think that he's smarter than everybody? The sad part for me is that people will continue to suffer at the expense of indecision and lack of leadership. So I'm not surprised. This is probably another distraction from him. Anyway, with the Epstein file, they've been able to set up a kangaroo committee. They've called Bill Clinton and other people, all but himself. He's been able to do a quick deal with Ghislaine Maxwell. They've interviewed her, put her in a better prison facility. They've been able to tell the FBI to redact a lot of documents that had Trump mentioned. He would blame and abuse everybody, but he will not take responsibility for himself. As regards France, yes, global warming is touted. It's normally the wildfire season. But I was watching French television yesterday, and there was a very interesting insight the presenter brought forward. He said some people have touted the idea of bringing goats in to solve the problem of wildfires. And I was quite curious when he talked about goats. I said, yes. He said probably they've used goats in some areas to eat up the shrub that, because of high temperature, will inflame on its own and cause the wildfire. And I said, goats can solve this problem. Maybe we should look at that.
Export market.
Vive la France, vive la chèvre. Is that what they call the goat in French?
The chèvre. I love it when Rufai speaks French. Anyway, on a serious note, let's begin in Ghana, Sure. Which is just the most tragic incident that could happen for any nation, to lose so many of its, serving officials in just one tragic incident. And I think it brings up semblances of PTSD for everyone, because it seems like we're going through the season of recurring helicopter crashes with high-profile individuals. I mean, I had to go and check. Is it that there are more helicopter crashes happening, or is it that we're seeing more high-profile people involved? And it seems that the rate of helicopter crashes has been consistent. It's just that we're now seeing them involving more high-profile people. Now, what happened yesterday was shocking to many people, because the president of Ghana, Mahama, was actually the man who was supposed to attend this event. He was the man, and they are saying that most likely he would have used the same helicopter. The ZE-9H, I believe, military helicopter, is the same aircraft that would have transported him to this program. But he eventually delegated to this delegation that he sent, because he had to attend a prayer service from a different, from a religious group. And so that's how these gentlemen ended up on this, ill-fated aircraft. Very unfortunate. Minister Boama, Minister of Defense, who has previously served as Minister of Communications, presidential spokesperson, only 50 years old. Imagine, he has done so much in such a short life. And, some might look at it and say, well, let's take heart. He served well for such a young man. But
the age of 50, you had the former parliamentary candidate as well. The aircraft was filled with young men. Absolutely. And I think that was just more painful because these are our brightest stars here on the African continent. So we do commiserate with our brothers and sisters in Ghana on that. Now, very quickly to Donald Trump, issues surrounding Russia. I mean, for me, what was sort of like the comedic irony in yesterday was you see the meeting with Steve Witkoff and Vladimir Putin and the feedback that it was highly productive, and the news that Donald Trump is most likely going to meet with Vladimir Putin in the coming days. And then shortly after that, you now hear about how Donald Trump has put more 25% tariff on India for buying Russian oil. Wow. So I said, okay, well, that's one way to negotiate, is just continue to aggravate the person you're supposed to be going into a negotiation with. The deadline for the ceasefire was Friday, which is tomorrow. So obviously that's not going to hold. The threats are not going to hold. Maybe that's why Steve Witkoff held the meeting. Marco Rubio has also said that he's very optimistic about the prospect. But I think right now Russia holds the trump cards. And I'll tell you why. Is that if Donald Trump continues to put pressure on India and China, there's the organization called BRICS that is actually getting closer together. South Africa as well. So you have your Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Brazil currently having issues because of Bolsonaro with Donald Trump. Yes. Russia, of course, is at the center of the storm. India now just have gotten up to 50% worth of tariffs from Donald Trump. China, of course, we know that there's an ongoing Cold War between the two countries. South Africa just got 30% tariffs from Donald Trump. So this is a great motivation for the BRICS nations to come together and do the coordinated effort that they had wanted to do to challenge the dollar hegemony. And if Donald Trump doesn't play this particular situation well, we might start to see things shifting faster than they already are from the American hegemony. So this is a very interesting time, but I think that's enough motivation for him to sit down with Vladimir Putin and figure out how a peaceful solution can be ironed out.
Oh, but that is the logical way that things should go. We never know with these gentlemen, so we'll have to wait and see.
You have the temerity to mention Trump and logic in the same
That's
sentence?
why I said that's the logical way to go. So we'll see if these gentlemen can behave logically. We will see. We will see. We will see. Let's go on to our newspapers today. As ever, we were given the front page of This Day. This Day does report on President Tinubu's tribute to Dr. Doyinsola Abiola, who he described as an icon of Nigerian journalism, an Amazon and a soldier of democracy. Now, Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos and Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun, also Minister Dele Aleke, they have all released statements in honor of the visionary that was Dr. Doyin Abiola. Now, the New Telegraph leads with Ola Olukoyede, who is the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and he is saying that many abandoned estates in the Federal Capital Territory are owned by civil servants who have stolen money. Now, Olukoyede made those statements at a policy dialogue organized by Law Corridor with the theme Critical Issues Affecting Nigeria's Real Estate Ecosystem. Now, the Vanguard leads with the options before the North ahead of the 2027 general election. We see President Tinubu, who is seeking a second term. So across their front page, you've got a picture of course, the current President Tinubu, who's seeking re-election. Then you have former President Goodluck Jonathan, who is, of course, entitled to a second term. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who is, of course, fighting tooth and nail to become president. And you have Peter Obi, who promises he'll only stay for one term if elected. And then you have the former Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amechi. Now, the Daily Independent does lead with the president drawing applause for offering retirees free healthcare. But there's also the news of Fuji musician and Olori Omoba Akile Ijebu Wasiu Ayinde involved in an incident at Abuja Airport, which reportedly involved him being in possession of alcohol. Now, he has released a statement. In it, he says that he was the victim in the incident rather than the perpetrator, as was previously reported. He did say that he did receive apologies from the head of airport security, from FAN, from the NCAA, and the chairman of the airline. We haven't seen anything to support that, but that's what he says, and I'm sure this is a story that we're going to be discussing throughout the show, or indeed later on today. Let's move on to The Guardian, though. The Guardian does lead with a closer look at the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. Her humanitarian donations have hit 12.9 billion naira in just 2 years. Now, the areas of donations are health, disability empowerment, internally displaced people, all of this under the Renewed Hope initiative. So it's a very interesting graphic and supplementary article that just essentially gives a deep dive into this money, what it's being used for. Now, the Daily Trust this morning does lead with Taraba State going 8 months without a deputy governor. And the Punch does lead with foreign investors selling off some 576 billion naira's worth of Nigerian stocks in just 6 months. That's what we're seeing on the front page of the Punch. Those are your papers.
Interesting times. Okay, so as regards the Kwam One thing, I will have wanted, there were other passengers on the flight, right?
Yes.
Did they make any video recordings? Or as at that point in time, they had turned off their, but if you had, or maybe they had turned off their phone at that point in time, because if the flight was set to move. So I will also want evidence from people that were on flights. But there are many things flying around. Number one, there's a certain threshold of liquid you have to take on board. Secondly, when the crew says no to something, it's best you listen to them. Thirdly, nobody has the rights. Then I'll get down from the plane, get in front of the plane, I'll be on the tarmac when the plane is set to leave. 4, we should not have pilots that lose their temperament so much that they want to go out there and knock down people and rev the engine of the flight, of the plane. It's not done. But let us also look at it. Because there's an audio flying around. I don't know how true is it. The person claimed he was speaking to the owner of Value Jets, which is Wasu Aide Marshall's fellow statesman, if I can use that word, because he's from Ikene, Wasu is from Ijebu. And he said that the owner of Value Jet was calling, or had just finished speaking with Wasu Aide Marshall to, placate him and talk to him and say, Alaji and all of that, don't get upset. But from his own narration, what he said was the fact that when they challenged him about bringing that liquid, he poured the liquid on the attendant. We don't have the facts. So until we get to the facts, and let's get down to basis, we will not know what transpired. But there's enough blame to go around. Plus the pilots, they've been suspended already. Plus the man that caused chaos in the plane, there's enough blame to go around. And please, we should take things coolly. And this is getting one too many. Till today, we have not gotten out of the Ashomole brouhaha. In fact, we don't even know what transpired till date. So information is always fuzzy. And that's why we like evidence from people that were on the plane. Let's even see what happened.
Absolutely. What got my attention was actually on the front page of The Punch. I think it was on the top left corner. And it spoke about how the retirees are rejecting, yes, there it goes, pension battle, police retirees reject FG's healthcare offer, which is quite interesting because every other daily is celebrating how the retirees are excited at the president's healthcare offer. So yesterday, the president said that in order to sort of further cushion the retirees, those at the lower income level would qualify for free healthcare from the state. Now, this report is interesting because it's saying that many of the retirees are refusing this offer, and they're saying that in fact they maintain that they want to be removed from the contributory pension scheme. So they're saying that all these things that are being put in place to appease them is insufficient. They just want to be removed from the scheme. Now, this is a story we've been following quite consistently and passionately here because, of course, we know that the welfare of our policemen, especially after when they exit from service, is very important. But it now still takes us back to the question, what is the solution? Because I remember last time Rufai did a breakdown, and we saw that it is impractical. We can't afford for them to be on any other scheme except for a contributory pension scheme. And then we're saying, well, their salaries should be included. It should be increased, so that what they contribute becomes sizable at the end of the road. But still, Rufai, if you look at the inflation numbers, even if you increase those salaries, it still doesn't add up. So we definitely need to...
dilemma with inflation.
We're in a serious dilemma. And we just need some creative people to sort of tinker with these models and see what's sustainable models. But I personally think that the free healthcare initiative is a great initiative just to cushion, the retirees. And, I think more of those types of social spending are important.
But what would the free healthcare cover?